Hello, it's Tammy here with Conquer Conflict, and today we're talking about toxic workplace behaviors, signs that you have a toxic workplace, and today we're talking about behavior number 9. I almost didn't know how many fingers to put up. If you're just joining me, I'm going to wait just a little bit, let people pop in here with me. So if you're joining me, just put a little hello in the chat box, let me know where you're watching from. And I'm going to get a few things ready. One, of course, is I'm going to ask a question. Do you feel your boss does not trust your decision making? And as always, this is going to be a yes, no. Now this is published live. I think when you watch the replay, you can't register your vote. So just go ahead and put it in the comments there and let me know if this is maybe an issue for you. I will kind of talk about what that looks like today and then give you some strategies to maybe reshape it, eliminate some of the potential tension that you might be feeling, and then some strategies to work through it. All right. So there's a lot of great articles out there about trust in decisions. And if you have worked in a workplace where you have felt like people didn't trust your decisions, you may have noticed certain behaviors that they take on. And micromanage is a word that comes out a lot when people feel like they're not trusted. Now, I've been guilty of this as well. I used to do a lot of training for others, and in particular, when working with another staff member, I give trust freely. You get it. It comes with the package. I meet you, you get my trust. But the moment that you start to show me that I can't trust you is the moment that my behaviors will start to change towards you. And maybe you have experienced this as well yourself, in that you've worked with somebody and you're like, I don't trust their judgment. They're not making good decisions. They're not making sense on what they're talking about. It looks like they haven't done their research. Maybe they're using Dr. Google to come up with evidence. I think of things such as the autism and vaccine conversation that happens a lot around vaccine time. And then you start to just act a little differently in front of them, and maybe you are looking more closely at their activities, you're spending more time asking questions. And so it feels the same when you're on the other side. When you feel like your decisions aren't trusted, you start to wonder if they value your professionalism, your knowledge, your experience. And then you start to think this isn't a good place to work. And it's not always the case. So first of all, let's look at what some things. So Liz Ryan, Forbes contributor, actually created a list of 10 things that you might notice in terms of behaviors from your manager that would suggest that they don't trust you. I'm not going to go over all 10. Obviously, that's a lot to talk about today. I'll just talk about 3. And then if you'd like to have the full list, definitely join me on the Conquer Conflict group. You'll see that that's free there for you. And as with all of the behaviors that I've been talking about in these lives, there are downloads for you to look at them more closely and some tips for you as well. But here's one sign you might have a boss that doesn't trust you. They ask you to confirm everything you do in writing, or they put all their instructions to you in writing. So there's this kind of written documentation about the communication between the two of you, and it's often felt like it is considered to be evidence or proof that something did or did not happen to the expectations. Now, if you are at that stage in your relationship, there's nothing wrong necessarily with writing things out. I think the key element here is to get clarity. There's a lot of words that we use in our culture that seem to be clear, but have very different meanings for two people. And I've talked about this before in another video, like the word support. Maybe you'll be accused. I certainly, I've been accused of a few things in my past. Now listen, I do have my tendencies, and clarity is certainly important to getting to the bottom line. Perhaps you've been accused of not being supportive to the agenda or the needs of an organization. Now, support means something very different to two different people. For every one of us, actually. If you want to add that into the chat box and just let me know, what does support mean to you? What does that look like? I'd love to hear your definition. So in one case, from a manager's perspective, support might look like you hear what they ask you to do, you implement without questions, you get it done on the timeline without complications and extra costs. That would be supportive for me, because then as a manager, I don't have to worry about it. I know I'm coming in on time, on budget, and with the quality work that we expect to have. That's a pretty big definition of support. Now, on the other side, as the employee, support might mean, listen, I've come to work at early an hour every day and I stay an hour every night to get this work done. I sacrifice my family time. I've sacrificed my meals. So we have two different meanings of what support is. And both are actually working towards the goal. But if we don't get clarity on some of those pieces, we can have some conflict. So if everything is in writing and there are some of those vague words in there, I would highly encourage you to get some of that clarified in terms of, when you say support, what do you need from me? All right, so that's one way you might find out that a boss or a manager doesn't trust you, is that everything is coming and is requested to be in writing. That's that kind of evidence trail. All right, number 2, they stand over you and watch you work. I've done that. I have had to do that with staff members because the trust was certainly not there in their capabilities and in their judgment. Their knowledge was fine, but they weren't implementing safe practices, and I felt like I needed to watch what they were doing every time. Staff, student, friend, doesn't matter. If the trust isn't there, I've done that. And I definitely know I've been called a micromanager in those situations because they felt it. And so those communications are difficult and hard to do. Now, if you have a boss that's standing over you and watching you work, you have to ask yourself, what have I done to take away the trust that they've had? And we'll talk about that in just a little bit here, because I do have some strategies for you should you be working with a boss that you feel like doesn't trust you anymore, and how can you rebuild that? So that's another sign that you might have a boss that's lost trust in you, is they're watching everything you do. The third sign I'll just talk about here is that they ask you 1,000 times, did you take care of that issue yet? Have you finished that task yet? Where are we at with this project? There's maybe some lack of communication happening between the two of you. So let's talk about some of the strategies that you can use to help, first of all, recognize where this mistrust is coming from, and to help you to rebuild that trust. So when a manager, there's 2 reasons in my perspective. There's 2 reasons why a manager will not trust you. One, they themselves are feeling incompetent, incapable of the task that has been given to them, and perhaps they don't have the strength to share that with their own boss, that they have their own needs, and so they're relying heavily on you to not make any mistakes so that they don't look like they're incompetent. That's a very realistic situation in the workplaces today. Here's my strategies for that situation. One is, I have a tendency to try and focus on, it doesn't always come immediately, but it does come quickly when I focus on my value set, which is care, connection, curiosity. I talked about that before as well. Those are the 3 values that I really like to dig into, is to give them the gift of best intention, because I would like for them to give me the gift of best intention. What does that mean? It means that I just pause in my judgment and in my reaction for a minute and consider that they're coming from a place where this is what they know, this is their strengths and their weaknesses, and that they have the best intention of the organization and us employees in their mind. They don't intentionally wake up every day with my name on their lips and think, how can I ruin her life today? That's what the gift of best intention is. And so when I recognize, I have had bosses in the past, in fact, the bully, because I was bullied, when I look back at that experience, that to me is probably the biggest thing I missed, is that I didn't give her that gift, because she too was new, she too was overwhelmed. We had a few conversations that I feel I can quite confidently say that she was feeling overwhelmed, and she didn't know all the answers, so she was just so focused on making sure she didn't look like a jerk that she made us feel like shit. So if you can recognize that they feel overwhelmed, because we've all been there. You've had tasks where you're like, I don't know how to start, I don't know what to do, and they're not here to help you and mentor you anymore. So we've all felt that overwhelmed sense, and if we can give them the gift, that will help you to decrease the stress that you're feeling about their micromanagement and their lack of trust, because it's more about them than it is about you. Now, the second one is that they truly just don't trust you. So if they don't trust you, this is the time to think about, what have I done that has made them not trust me? Perhaps this is a new manager and they've come in and they're not like me. They don't just give trust freely. They actually have to make you earn it, and they need to see your work. So one of the strategies would be is to keep communication open. Let them know updates of where you are with projects. Let them know of any challenges that come up and what you're thinking about for a solution. And you can always solicit their feedback. That's huge. Solicit their feedback, advice, recommendations. Allow them to be part of that decision-making process. Will show them that you trust their knowledge, and will start to build that trust back for you. Keeping them in the loop. I think I maybe started to talk about that communication piece. So yeah, deadlines, times, budgets, challenges, that kind of stuff. Always be sharing that information, because nobody likes a blind side, right? I've certainly had a few blind sides in my career, and they suck. They're horrible. And you can also let them know about your own strengths. Maybe they don't know that you're really good at a particular skill set, or that your knowledge is really specialized in one area, or that maybe communication and conflict is where you are the best at your work. And that if they know your strengths, they might then come to you for some advice and recommendations. Now, when it comes to that manager not feeling capable or competent, we can also try to understand their goals. So this is another huge strategy that helps me to decrease any tension I feel inside of me as it relates to potentially a micromanaging boss that doesn't trust my opinions or my judgment, which happens. But if I can recognize that they're coming from a place of good intention, and maybe we can connect on a value set, or we can connect on a goal set, or we can align our behaviors on outcomes that we're looking for, then we're able to connect at a more meaningful level, than opposed to just me feeling like, oh my God, she's micromanaging me, like back off. It's really hard to come out of that if that's the position you want to take, because you just want to be right in the decision that they're micromanaging and that they're the problem, because sometimes we're the problem. And you need to keep an open mind for the information they're going to share, because we all have blind sides as well, and use that information to reflect on and see if there's something you can do. So there's a lot we can do when it comes to a workplace behavior of a micromanager or someone who doesn't trust your decision making. And I hope this has been helpful. Feel free to comment. Let me know as you're watching the replay. And don't forget to like and share, because there's going to be others you know who are going through the same situation, and this might just help them to decrease the conflict that they're feeling and manage it in a whole new way. So until next time, guys, make it a great day.